I mentioned my family's been in business for a long, long time. We've had the, I guess, blessing and curse of having skills within our family, or maybe we've acquired skills in our family to do the work that needed to be done by ourselves. I had an uncle who was a mechanic, so anything that needed mechanical work he would do. My father was a carpenter, and so anytime we needed something built, he would do that, or my uncle and my father would. Both of them are gone now. And, when equipment breaks down, it would be wonderful if we had somebody in our community to go to where we could take our snow machine or our truck or our boat to have it repaired. And we're not the only ones. And even in our small community, there is a market for those highly skilled professionals, whether they be mechanics or carpenters or plumbers, or everybody's got a oil-fired heater in their home, and there are small-scale business opportunities there. I just think that the risk and the challenge and it's hard for people to visualize the fact that they might be able to make a living at this. It might not be a great living, that nobody's going to get rich, but it'd be enough to maybe pay to be able to afford to live there. And I think there's some real opportunities that are not yet being pursued. Why do you want to start a business? Do you want to start a business because you have a great idea and you think you can see the economic outcome? Or do you want to start a business because you just need to find a way to afford to live where you want to live? And if it's the latter, look for the obvious. What do I need? What is a burden to me when my car breaks down? Where do I go to get it fixed? Or do I have mechanical skills? And are these skills? Are people knocking on my door asking me for help on doing this on a regular basis? Something I think about is there always seems to be one or two people in every small community, the go-to people when it's tax time. Little bookkeeping services, and it's great that we're willing to do that and help our neighbors out, but is this something that I can turn into business, and maybe not something to get rich on, but something that allows me to afford to live here? And look for the obvious. There's a lot of obvious things. You've got to be able to believe in yourself and to visualize. My mother was very much an entrepreneur. You have to be scrappy. You have to see that opportunity, and you need to be willing to work hard to take it on, and she did. And at the end of the day, if you think about other startups, people develop a startup, and at some point maybe they sell it. When you're, how do you walk away from something that you've invested your life work into? There's not really a very large market out there, so you better be satisfied with the fact that it helped sustain you for a period of time, because there's no big nest egg at the end. There's nobody to sell it to at the end when you decide it's time to retire. And so I think that's part of it, is what am I investing in? Am I willing to walk away from this at the end and be satisfied with what it's returned to me while it was operational? That's a little different model than if you think about entrepreneurs in a community like Anchorage. They decide, okay, I'm done. They go out and they say, who can I sell this thing to? And they'll probably capture some upside at the end, and that'll help them in their exit strategy. And then, of course, a lot of entrepreneurs, or those who are running day-to-day small-scale businesses, they forget to think about setting aside money for retirement. That they're just working on surviving day-to-day, and so at the end of the shoot, you might have been able to survive for these years and put food on the table for your family, but maybe you didn't think about setting something aside for when you shut it down. Going into it, you need to understand, don't go in halfway. You need to devote and recognize this could be a long-term haul, and you really need to be willing to see it out. Otherwise, you might be disappointed with the time you just spent. But I think there is tremendous opportunity there. Again, depending on the size of the community, I don't think anybody's going to get wealthy, but perhaps that's a path that allows you to afford to live in a place you want to live. And that was, frankly, the philosophy my mother had, is this is a path by which we can afford to live where we're from. We can continue to enjoy the rich lifestyle that is out here, live on the river, participate in the subsistence lifestyle, be with the people that we love and are us. And that was our philosophy. Hers was, it helps us afford to live here, a way by which we can continue to live here. Well, I think one of the big mistakes is you know everybody in a small village, right? And you're probably related to three-fourths of them. And if you're going to run a business, you need to run a business. You need to get paid for the product you're selling. You need to pay your bills in a timely fashion, or you're not going to be able to get the supplies you need that you in turn need to run your business. You need to understand the limitations sometimes, that the obstacles you face in a rural community that you might not face as often in a more urban area. Access to internet, reliability of communication. The phones break down, internet is slow. Banking is by mail, and we need to support our local businesses. We really do, and the community needs to understand that the health of the community depends on the health of the people in it, and you want people living in your community who want to be there, and so we ought to be encouraging of new business ideas. We ought to be looking for ways to feed opportunities to our local residents. We talk from a broader perspective in Alaska. We talk about local hire, Alaska business. The same is true at a local level, a small scale level. So the community can get behind their entrepreneurs, can get behind and encourage the people who are willing to put their necks on the line to try to create something there in the local environment to help it be a good balanced community, a reason to stay, a reason to be there. NANA is very interested in the continued success of our region and the villages in our region and the shareholders who live in our region. We want our culture to continue to thrive. We want to have healthy communities, and so you've got to have an economy there, and yet we're very dependent in our very remote part of the world on government and infrastructure investment by government. And so for NANA, we've been really challenged with what might we do to help stimulate the village economy, make life a little bit easier for people to live there. And so we've been aiming our focus at, what can we do to reduce the cost of energy, for example. Very high cost impact. In our part of the state, the cost of living is about 60% higher than it is here in Anchorage. And so what we actually have a board committee focused on village economic development. We have set aside some funds, and we're each community in our region applies for grant funding from NANA for ideas that they may have on projects that might stimulate the economy. So we've also put out energy grants to all of our communities. If they can weatherize their community centers, that reduces the cost and helps contribute to that small-scale village. We haven't gone so far as to create a loan program. Some other corporations have, and so if you had a small entrepreneur that needed some startup funding, they can apply for those types of programs. I've heard of some very successful programs in other tribal environments, lower 48 and in Canada, where you've got some tribal investment funds aimed at supporting native entrepreneurs. And so there's some pretty unique things that have been done in some native communities. The real challenge Alaska Native corporations have is they want to stimulate and encourage a strong and healthy economy back home. And so, they need to look for opportunities to try to encourage their shareholder base or their rural communities to develop a thriving economy. And that's where entrepreneurship is really, that's where you test your mettle, is in a very small market, far away from, broad economy like Anchorage. Think things through, develop your business plan, and then assume it's going to cost twice as much and take twice as long. Stick to it. Don't get discouraged. Really step back and say, why am I doing this? Really understand if you need to make sure you're satisfied that the hard work, and it will be hard work, is what you want. And I think that goes with, really thinking through what it's going to take and recognize it's going to be a lot of hard work and probably a very lean period for a while, and some days are going to be better than others, but at the end of the day, are you able to achieve what you thought you were going to achieve when you started? And if you're not, move on, because life is short and you better be happy with what you're doing, and don't let it become a burden, and don't let it become a curse. Let it become what you want it to be.